All right, so in this video, you're gonna learn the exact step-by-step roadmap that I teach members of my private VSOC Incubator program on how to make $300,000 a year as a cybersecurity engineer. So let's go ahead and jump right into it because there's a lot to cover and I wanna make sure we get through everything. My name is William Sims. I am a cybersecurity engineer. I am also the founder at Cythority, which is a managed cybersecurity service provider. And I've generated over $100 million in salary offerings since I graduated back in 2018. Now, I was one of those people that was fortunate enough to graduate. And 2 months before I graduated, I accepted an offer letter at Michelin, which back in 2018, Forbes put out an article that Michelin was the #1 best large employer. So it was kind of a big deal for someone coming like me from an underrepresented background and got placed on a global security team working for the headquarters in North America. Again, since then, I have pretty much stamped my career in cybersecurity as a visionary, disruptor, futurist, and just somebody who has literally helped dozens of people secure six-figure careers in cybersecurity. Again, I'm going to kind of go into that a little bit. I have receipts, and I want to make sure we cover everything because let's be real. Seeing is believing, so I'm not just one of those people that's going to go ahead and dangle the carrot in front of your face. I actually want to show you real offer letters and real actual experiences and opportunities. You can see here where I got an offer letter for $80 an hour on a corp-to-corp contract. Another one right here for Microsoft. All right. Here's one for GE Aerospace. All right. This one was for $115,000. And I'm just going to keep, the list goes on and on, right? So here we go. Going through the list of just different offer letters. This one here was for Mizuho, $160,000, $200,000 total compensation. And here are just some pay stubs because I like to actually have receipts and show you guys. I'm not just pulling numbers out of the air. But again, since I graduated and up until last year, I started making $380,000 a year, $25,000 a month net income. Okay, you can see here that was one. Look at the dates and the timestamps here. This was February. So if you add all these numbers up, these are all paychecks from the month of February. It all comes out to around $25,400. To be specifically, I'm just going to kind of show you guys, like these are all from the same time back in 2025 last year. And you can see here, $25,444.35 net income. That's cash that actually hit my bank account. Okay. Again, this is not like what I wanted to show you guys to be bragging. I'm just showing you guys what's possible and that we actually have done this. So we're speaking from a place of actual authority and not just some hypothetical situation. So again, I want to kind of go into the testimonials and success stories of other people because at the end of the day, you're only as successful as the people that you help. Again, I've been in this position, so I know what it's like to go from nothing and be able to take myself from a 200% below the poverty line, single parent household. Just have no direction and guidance. I've been in positions where I didn't even think I was going to make it here. I come from a non-traditional background in tech, so for me, this was a really big deal, and I kind of got into cybersecurity out of desperation. And so I want to talk about how I've helped other people get into this situation and be able to secure their future and freedom in cybersecurity. Okay, so before I do that, again, some of the things that I've done that I'm probably most proud of is cybersecurity has allowed me to become a real estate investor. I was able to purchase 3 houses in 13 months with my wife, and that was just one of the greatest accomplishments that I think I have to show for, being able to do that and, again, see her happy, see her being able to stay at home with our girls and be able to, just be the best mom and best wife anyone can ask for. And again, I've been globally recognized, from different universities and prestigious organizations like the Forbes Business Council. I've taught at prestigious institutions like EYL University. And again, I've worked for some of the largest companies in the world, Microsoft, Raytheon, GE Aerospace, Pure Storage, you name it. There's so many I can't really go into, but let's get into the actual good stuff. Let's get into why I started this program and who are the people that we've actually helped. If you see here, these are real people, real results. These are people who have families, people who have wife, kids, and that had literally nothing to lose but everything to gain. All right, their backs were against the wall, and so I'm just going to kind of go through. This is Justin. Justin was somebody who came through our doors. We actually got him 3 offer letters, so he landed jobs at Meta, Snapchat, and CoreWeave. And you can see here, he's now currently working in a role where he's making $160K right now, and he's working for one of the top companies in AI security. And you can see here, you'll see a common theme across the board of people like Justin who have a role at our company with a set of responsibilities that align with the job description. And I'll get into that a little bit later, but he's not the only one. Dominic was also one of the people who got a job in 4 weeks with no prior experience. 4 weeks with no prior experience. He's actually the person who leads the leaderboard and getting a job as fast as possible. He had no business getting a job that soon, but you can see here again, has that role, set of responsibilities at our company, and he's doing the job now. So super proud of him. Again, tons of people, charisma. She was able to land 4 job offers. She went from 29K to 160K fully remote. Incredible. No degree, no certifications at the time. And she was just a hard worker and literally executed on everything. You can see Nordstrom, HubSpot. She worked at Cythority. Like, these are real people that have actually gone from 0 to 100. Manny, help desk person, then secured a 6-figure future in cyberspace as a SOC analyst. You can see here, they all have that same commonality, that role at our company, same set of responsibilities, actually doing the job. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and not make my tabs make a whole lot of mess here, but let me go ahead and pull up a couple other folks. Bella, she was working at Panera Bread. You can see here there's different use cases for every type of person. So we have people that have gotten jobs with no experience. We have people that have gotten jobs that had no degrees, no certifications. And then we have people who have had degrees, but were working at Panera Bread, for example, like Bella, because she couldn't get a job. And I know a lot of you can probably relate to that because you maybe have a degree, maybe a certification, and you can't get a job. And that was exactly what Isabella's story. She literally went from having a bachelor's degree, working at Panera Bread, to then working as a incident response analyst for Williams-Sonoma. You can see that here. All right, somewhere, here we go. And so she was actually doing the job, and so that's how she was able to get a job. And Dami, another person, another use case where she went from no experience to making 6 figures at a Big Four accounting firm known as Ernst & Young or EY, and she did it in 8 weeks. Not to mention Bella did it in 6 weeks. So, we have all different types of use cases, all different types of people that have gotten success throughout the years. So I want to go ahead and just show you, like, these are real people. These are not, fabricated stories. These are real people that have real things to lose. Dominic, for example, he got a job 2 months before he graduated high school. I thought I was doing something special when I got a job 2 months before I graduated college. This young man was able to get a full-time job offer, fully remote, while still being in high school. So he didn't even have a high school diploma. And you can see now he's working at Ultraviolet Cyber, all right, as a SOC analyst, and it is just absolutely incredible. Ayakum, here's another example of somebody who went to one of those fancy boot camps and spent $17,000 on a boot camp and wasn't able to get a job until he walked through our doors. Now he's a security engineer. He's landed jobs at Microsoft. He's landed a job at some pretty high-profile clients. But yeah, these are people who literally followed the program, followed the framework, and were able to get the results. And I'll talk about what that framework actually looks like. Jolly is another person, another example who had all the suite of certifications and the bachelor's degree, couldn't get a job till she came through our program. And in 6 weeks, she was able to land a job. Now she has her own firm. It's absolutely incredible. Some of the things, people from our community, what they're doing and accomplishing on a day-to-day basis. Jordan, another one, went through that boot camp scam. I think he went to 2 or 3 boot camps and was able to then land a job as a SOC analyst. So what I want to talk about is the person, the type of qualities that you have to possess in order to get results just like these people, because this is not for everybody. If you're not one of those people that is a go-getter, that is 100% committed and that believes in themselves, then you're not going to be able to accomplish this. So let's talk about the actual qualities of who actually gets a job, who is successful in this program. All right. So the people who are successful in this program are the ones who make time to upskill themselves and develop the experience. All right, not the people who make excuses, but the people who actually make time and actually dedicate themselves to getting this skill set. Now, in addition to that, you have to actually have the identity. So you need to actually identify with the role in order to get the job, but you need to vibe at the frequency of the reality that you want. You can't want $1 million outcomes and put in $50,000 input. It just doesn't work like that. So again, why I started this program, because I wanted to be able to help people accomplish the same sense of freedom and eventually earn back their time and be able to build a legacy. So, and that's exactly what I did with this whole entire operation. So what I want to show you now is our platform, how we do things. This calendar right here, you can see this is our live shifts that we host 4 days a week. So every day of the week, we host a program from 7 to 9 p.m. And every day of the week, we focus on a different domain in security. So as you see here, Monday nights are for CTI or threat advisories. So our team is working with our cyber threat intelligence team. Tuesdays, everyone works with our counter adversary operations or threat hunting team, where they're actually focusing on the threat actor, indicators of compromise, and essentially trying to eliminate threats before they exist. Wednesdays, we do incident response management. So we're actually being on the blue team, reactive, responding to alerts within CrowdStrike, within Defender, SentinelOne, Splunk, you name it. And then on Thursdays, we go into cybersecurity detection engineering. So that's actually building the detections and the rules that are going to be landing in a queue that an analyst would respond to. And so I can actually show you exactly some of the tools that we work with. All right, this is 100% hands-on. We don't believe in doing any theory whatsoever. This is not one of those certification farms or mills. All right, so if you're looking to get a Security Plus or do something like that, that's not what we focus on. As you can see here, we have real technology. I got Splunk right here. You can see, I'll pull up CrowdStrike. And if you're familiar with any of these tools, like these are cutting edge EDR tools, endpoint detection and response, security information event management console, security orchestration automation response. We're using real tools within our program. We're not using any open source, tools. We're not using any self-paced modules. We're actually doing the job day for day. And that's the differentiating factor. Let me go ahead and put my MFA here before I, get locked out. All right. So just kind of pivoting through these tools, like when you work with us, you're actually logging into the tools. All right. We're not, this isn't a lab, try hack me, capture the flag. This is an enterprise license of CrowdStrike, right? So you're actually working within the same tech stack as our customer base, which is over 50 customers across the globe. All right. And they range from retail, healthcare, government, you name it. We're working with all different types of customers today. And so literally you're working in the tools. You can see here, there's a file on a desktop by a user. We can navigate to the process tree, look at all the triggering indicators. This is how you begin to identify with the role. Okay, you can't get a job if you're not already doing the job using the same technology being used at the client. Just like you wouldn't board a flight if you knew that the pilot never sat into a cockpit and actually flown a plane, right? It's not enough for us to convince to want to get on a plane when the pilot has actually never flown a plane and he only got a certification for watching YouTube videos or passing a multiple choice exam. We just wouldn't do it. And so it kind of translates in the job search because companies know it's too big of a risk to put you in a mission critical role where you have no experience when we are the front line of defense and backbone to every single company known available to man today. So you can see here, we're in the process table, process tree. These are just different views to see some of the same information, right? We can see actions that were taken. We can see descriptions, command line, file path, right? All this additional telemetry is actually doing the job of a security analyst. All right. And so these are just some of the things that I wanted to show you guys. Because if you don't have access to a real cybersecurity company, you're not going to be able to do this on a day-to-day basis. And that's the differentiating factor with us. Again, I'm not here to put anyone down, but for those of you who are prioritizing school or prioritizing certifications, all right, or at-home labs, you have to think of it from a company's perspective, right? If you're not already working, it's too big of a risk. And so that's why we are working within the tools every single day. Now, we meet 4 days a week, but you have access to these tools 24/7. So you're not limited to when you can access them. Right now, I'm in SOCBite, which is our proprietary SOAR platform. You can see here, these dashboards are actually like metric KPIs. I can see the analyst's performance, who's leading in terms of like the amount of cases that they're working, the mean time to assign, mean time to resolve. This is all hands-on. Like I said, we're using paid licenses and people are actually doing the job day for day. I can show you guys some of the intelligence reports that we write, whether it be a threat hunt or CTI report. One that we did recently is for a Iranian-based threat actor. So for example, let me go ahead and pull one of these up. And one of the cool things about this tool is that it has a lot of AI capability because there's an agentic SOC portion. So I can actually go ahead and show you here. We did this one the other day. I think this was 2 days ago. We did a threat hunt on an adversary known as Hydro Kitten, which is an Iranian-based threat actor. And so this is literally the finished product. This is what you guys will be able to do. You can see here once you come through our program. And this report resulted in 93 different indicators of compromise, which are listed below. If you don't know what that means, those are essentially malicious artifacts. And so they range from hash values. We have different types of hash values, IP addresses. So just for example, if you want to know what this actually looks like and why I'm saying these are malicious, if you go into like an OSINT tool to validate the reputation, you'll see here, these are bad, right? Anytime you see red like this, these are indications that these are malicious. These are different security vendors like SOC Radar you might have heard of. You might have heard of Fortinet. Definitely should have heard of them. You know, Symantec, Google, you name it. Tons of different reputable open source intel sources validating these, the reputation of these different indicators. And then we provide the remediation as well. So when you're going through this program, you're not learning basic triage. You're actually going to learn end-to-end threat intelligence, end-to-end incident response management, end-to-end threat hunting and detection engineering so that you can go and actually apply and be a qualified candidate for any of those roles. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's actually take a look at some of these job descriptions right here. I'm just going to go ahead and open up a few of these. For example, this is a principal security lead on the blue team. And I want you guys to see the correlation between the job descriptions and the actual descriptions of the resumes of our analysts in our program. So you can see some of these responsibilities here. Just take a look. I'll go through them pretty slowly. You can see SOAR tool here. You can see experience in incident response, SOC blue team environments, which you saw us that we do. More information here related to managing high severity incidents as a primary escalation point. Hands-on experience collecting evidence, behavior analytics, modern forensics, communication, experience working with an MSSP, which is exactly what Cythority is. You see the MITRE attack framework. These are all things that you'll start to see, and I'll pull up a couple other ones just for the sake of it so you can actually see the differentiation. This is for a security incident response lead. And also notate how much these roles are paying, because I'm not making this stuff up. I think this role is paying $150,000 to $180,000 a year. That's one role. All right. Now this one is for IR lead. You can see here leading end-to-end incident response. All right. Acting as a commander. Let's take a look here. Scroll down. You can see some of the domains, investigation forensics. All right. Working on different logs, endpoints, and cloud environments. Playbook development. That's key here. Response playbooks, frameworks. All right, you can see, just take a look at all these different things that they're looking for. They want someone with hands-on experience working in a SIM, EDR, and XDR tool. All right, that is a non-negotiable. And so let's take a look here. I think this one has a pay range all the way up to $225,000. So now you guys can see how it's actually possible to make $300,000 a year because these roles are paying it. All right, Figma, here's a manager SecOps role. This one is paying, I want to say, I think almost $200,000 a year, maybe even more. But just look at the responsibilities, right? SIM, SOAR platforms, reducing noise. That would be related to tuning, all right, which is something that we focus on here day for day. You can see they want somebody with SOAR experience, right? They want someone with deep expertise within SIM and SOAR platforms in a cloud-native environment. Well, that's what you get when you work with us. You can see NIST frameworks. You can see different, FedRAMP frameworks, ISO frameworks. These are all things that you're going to need to know. This one's paying upwards of $300,000 a year, as I mentioned. And here's just one last one. This is through Anthropic as a cyber threat investigator. So this falls within like CTI. You can see here they want somebody with responsibilities handling threat actor TTPs, or tactics, techniques, procedures, which we talk about all the time. And I'll go ahead and show you in just a second. All right. This is exactly why I tell you guys, focus on the skills and experience. MITRE frameworks. If you don't know what MITRE is, I definitely recommend getting familiar with MITRE because every job description up to $300K. You guys can see this. So not to go into too much detail, but I want to show you guys now some of these profiles because every analyst that worked with us, they actually have the experience doing the exact same thing. All right. So if you look at Justin's profile, I'm going to go back to his for a second. If you look at what he was doing in the program, you can see EDR, XDR, IPS, QRadar, SIM, CrowdStrike, right? Monitoring and analyzing alerts, all right? Conducting threat hunts, all right? Indicators of compromise, all right? SOPs, developing run books, playbooks, operating procedures, all right? We talked about tactics, techniques, and procedures related to the MITRE framework, right? This is why they are employed, because what they were doing in our program aligns with the job description. And that's how you get a job. If you want a job, you have to identify with the role. You have to use the tools and be performing of the needs of the client. All right. It's very simple. All right. You can see here, very similar bullet points here, almost identical. Common vulnerabilities and exposures, IOCs, TTPs, right? EDRs, SIMs, SOARs. This is what you need in order to get a job at the highest level. All right. So not to go into too much detail, but I just want to make sure you guys are seeing the theme here, all right? Pretty straightforward, all right? Pretty easy to understand. Going back here for a second, I want to talk a little bit about why this is not a boot camp, because boot camps are not using real technology. At the core of who they are using open source tools. And let's just be real. Companies are not using Wazoo or Alien Vault or Elk Stack as often as they're using the Splunks, the QRadars, the ArcSights, the Microsoft Sentinels, the Google Chronicles, the Defenders, the CrowdStrikes, the Carbon Blacks. The tools that companies are using, you have to have experience in, because having open source experience is simply not enough. And so that's the benefit of working with us, because we actually have real customers. We actually have enterprise technology deployed in our environment. So when you come through our doors, you're actually interfacing with enterprise technology and a live customer stack. It's really as simple as that. This is not a simulation, not a sandbox, not a lab, or try hack me, capture the flag. It's the actual real deal. So let's talk a little bit about how the actual program works. So we do live sessions 4 days a week, which I showed you guys earlier. We also have a real SOC with real threats. So if I actually go here and open up this tab, it's going to show you an actual walkthrough of one of our actual shifts.
I put this in virus mode right now, it's not going to produce, it's not.
You can see here, like
We're actually live in the tool. Their motivation, again, their origins. Here's their targeted industries.
So this was an actual recording of a threat hunt. So we were actually going through that threat hunt that I just shared with you guys earlier when I was looking at SockBite. But this is how we actually do things, hands-on, enterprise-grade technology, which you can all see here within Okta, which is our cloud identity access provider. And you can see all these tools. So you don't need to download any virtual machine, virtual box, VMware, worry about. You can literally access this environment from your phone or your Chromebook. Hopefully you guys have a laptop or desktop, because it just makes things easier, but you don't need to download anything besides an MFA token on your phone, which you probably already have if you're working in IT. All right. So this is literally how we do things. And then one of the other really major benefits of our program is our end-to-end career services. So we have the best career services available on the market, because we're at the core of who we are. We have Forbes certified career coaches. For those of you who didn't see my profile or whatnot, I'll show you guys. I've been on the Forbes Business Council, so I'm qualified to actually speak to this stuff. But this tool that we use, Job Search Genius, is actually an end-to-end AI career suite. So we can literally review resume revisions. You can see here, we have tons of resume revisions. All right, we can also go into the interview tracker, and we can do mock interviews. So anytime you want to prepare for an interview, all you have to do is upload any job description from LinkedIn, from Indeed, whatever job board you're using, and it literally will generate a set of interview questions, and you'll be asked these questions from an AI avatar. So for example, I was actually training for an associate security specialist role. I believe this is for a role at IBM. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, this is for a role at IBM. And you can see here,
I think my skills in threat hunting.
This AI is going to then grade and score my response based on vocab, fluency, relevance to question, the whole 9 yards, and actually provide recommendations for me to go deeper, what to do differently, sample responses. Nowhere else in the market can you find an end-to-end solution. And in addition to that, we also will apply to jobs on your behalf. So the goal of this program is to focus on the only thing that matters, which is getting the skills and experience, and let us do the heavy lifting when it comes to applying for jobs. Because now you can focus on becoming the person, and that's why it associates with what I said earlier with identifying with the role. You need to become the person to identify with the role to actually secure the bag. Excuse me. So that's another cool feature of our feed. We actually have an embedded job board with over 2 million jobs. You don't even have to leave the platform to apply. And we have a job tracker, so you can see here all the jobs that have been applied to. We can bookmark them. We see that there's an applied column with all the jobs that have been applied to by our job search consultants. And then you can see I'm currently interviewing for a role. I have had an offer received here, so you know I'm actually like able to track this. All right, we can see the offer letter. I actually showed you guys this earlier. This one was from Mizuho. So if I go back into the actual demo presentation, because I believe in receipts, this was actually one of the, I think, receipts that I had. What was it right here? Yeah, this one was for Mizuho Americas, $160,000 base plus sign-on bonus plus annual discretionary bonus, $200,000 compensation package. Again, the reason why I started this program is because I wanted to help people do the exact same thing that helped me set my family free, be able to retire my wife and my kids. And up until June of this year, I was able to retire myself and go all in so that I can help more people like each and every one of you. And that's exactly why we're here right now. So again, to talk about the domains that we cover and what you'll be getting, these are the 4 different domains that we cover within our program: CTI, threat hunting, incident response management, and detection engineering. So again, Cythorians, anyone who goes through our program will be able to assume roles within these 4 different domains at a Fortune 500 company from day one. That's how we do things. All right, your roadmap to $300,000 a year. How does it work? Well, we get you enrolled and onboarded. All right, we have a reverse engineering methodology, so we start with the end in mind. So you initially, as soon as you get onboarded, part of your training is we redo your resume, we redo your LinkedIn, we give you distributed access across our environment, and you begin training. We have some modules for you, as well as simultaneously you showing up to the shift to actually do the job. Okay, so 4 days a week, you are going to be working with our engineers, with our lead analysts, and actually doing the job. This is a live shift, so think of it as you paying us to give you a job so that you can get a job, because that's the catch-22 of cyberspace. You need a job to get experience, but you need experience to get a job, and that's the problem we solve. All right, then at that point, once you are displaying technical proficiency, which can be as little as 30 days, that's when we start this career launch accelerator, when we will then begin to start applying for jobs, and you will be doing your mock interviews and actually receiving offers. And that's how we're going to ultimately get you to scale to 300K, because we need to promote your brand, we need to promote your skill set, accomplishments, your success stories, and be able to have you articulate your impact when you're in front of a hiring manager. Because at the end of the day, they need to know, like, and trust you. If you have these skills, but you aren't branded correctly on LinkedIn, well, then nobody knows you exist. And then your skill set is in vain because you have no visibility. So visibility without substance, right? Well, that's pointless. And substance without visibility, same thing. All right. So again, how this typically works, this is a 1-year roadmap to get you to $300,000 a year. Again, our guarantee is that we work with you until you have a job. So you're not going to be kicked out after 3 months, 6 months on your own, fending for yourself. We are going to work with you step by step, every step of the way, until you get a job. That is our guarantee, and we stand on it. All right. Again, I've had people do this in as little as 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. It's really up to the client on how fast they move through the process, because again, this is really all about execution and following a system. You have to make time, you have to become that person, and that's ultimately how you're going to get to your destination. All right. Now, why we're different, like I mentioned this before, we're not a boot camp. This is not a simulated or open source lab environment. All right. This is not just pre-recorded lectures with no live interaction. You're not given a generic resume template with career tips. All right. Literally what you're doing is you're working live incidents, okay? So we're not going to be issuing you certifications, all right? You're not kicked out. You're literally going to be working in a live environment with real customers and real incidents. All right, we're using enterprise tools like I mentioned, CrowdStrike, Defender, Splunk, Sentinel. You can see some of those tools listed right here just for reference if I can find the tab. All right, so we have a SOC SOAR, CrowdStrike EDR, Sentinel-1, Splunk, and then we also have Defender. It's just now accessed through our Okta module. And then we also have our live shifts 4 days a week, 2-hour shifts with lead engineers and analysts. We even have folks from some of the largest companies in the world. So for example, our detection engineering component, it is led by a senior security engineer at Splunk. Okay, we do not hire people who are teachers. We have live instruction from people who are in the industry leading the top companies in the world. Okay, myself included. All right, end-to-end career services, even applying to jobs on your behalf, as long as you're displaying technical proficiency. And again, we work with you until you land a job. And at the end of the day, the reason why this is different, the reason why you are working with us is because we are an active accredited MSSP with 50 customers globally. Okay, so that's the differentiating factor. All right, hope this answers a lot of your questions. So, ready to change. Here's the steps to actually do it. What you're going to do is you're going to book a free strategy call with me or a member of my team, and that'll be 30 minutes. We will assess exactly where you are, your background, your skills, your experience, and put together an actual plan that is obtainable and not just out of reach, all right? And if it's not working with us, that's okay. We'll still try to point you in the right direction because we want to make sure that you have clarity moving forward. All right. Once you get that custom roadmap and understand what roles you're going to be targeting, we highlight those gaps in your experience and actually discuss how fast you can get there based on your current background. Then we can get you enrolled and start training as soon as possible. Because the sooner we get you to hit the ground running, the sooner you start hitting results. And we try to make this a lowest barrier for entry, and so that you don't have to worry about sacrificing the quality and integrity of this education and training. All right. We want to start getting results as possible, and we want to make sure that this training and experience is not out of reach for people who are qualified. Keyword qualified. And again, who is qualified? People who are 100% committed, all right? People who have 100% belief in themselves. And obviously you do have to be employed because this is not free. This is not charity. This is a paid program. But again, if you're looking to get the results, you definitely have come to the right place. So there's a link to book your call. I'll go ahead and have that link booked in the description. Listen, folks. Do not wait for the right time. Do not wait until things are perfect, because there never is a right time. The right time was yesterday, and yesterday's over and gone with, so the next best time we have is today. So let's get straight to it. Can't wait to see you guys on a call and help you guys secure your future in cyberspace. Oh, one last thing before I go ahead and get out of here is I mentioned earlier when it comes to LinkedIn, let me go ahead and just pull my screen up so you guys can see that. Here's my profile. Feel free to connect with me there. Also connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. But you can see here, I am an award international cybersecurity practitioner. I've gotten speaking engagements at university that I mentioned earlier, and I was telling you guys, here's some of the large companies I've worked at over the years. All Fortune 500, billion and trillion dollar organizations. And as I mentioned earlier, I was recognized, here we go, by the Forbes Business Council. So again, if anyone's qualified to speak to some of the things that we're talking about right now, I'm definitely one of them. Again, not trying to be, cocky or conceited, just, humbly speaking. Again, I like to feature some of those things and accomplishments that I've done over the years, whether it be the Forbes Business Council. You can see that there. All right. Oh, that didn't populate. Let me go ahead and pull this up. There we go. Here's another one. Some of these articles are a little older. Some of them are a little newer. You can see For the Record. These are just different publications that you can see, that stories that were written about me. It's funny, this school I actually attended my freshman year, I ended up getting terminated from. 10 years later, they came back, gave me an award, go figure. That's just sometimes how things work. But again, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Also on Instagram, if you want to connect with me on Instagram, I post a lot of stuff there. I'm definitely pretty active. You can see that here. I'll also have a link in my bio to actually be able to get this video. And if you're interested, make sure you shoot me a DM VSOC. Okay. If you want to book a call with my team, you have to DM me VSOC so that I know that you're actually serious and you're ready to get straight to it. Because again, this is for people who are ready to get to the work. All right. We sell groundwork and we get straight to it so that you can secure your future in cyberspace as soon as possible. All right, folks. Until next time, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and I will see you all soon.